Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. We are back again with the tips this week. Might notice the background's looking a little bit different. Doing a bit of rearranging in here, but that doesn't matter. Let's just get straight into the video, starting off by looking at my last week's tips. There were only two games. I got one of them right. I got the first game on Friday night correct. I tipped against my team in what was a bit of an upset. A lot of people tipped the Swans, more than I had expected. I mean, it was understandable why we were favourites. It was our home game. We made the grand final last year, but with some of the outs we had, and I thought most people were on board with Hawthorn improving again this year. So I thought more people would have tipped the Hawks, but that wasn't the case. So I had a really good opportunity to get a head start in the tips this year by going 2 from 2 in the opening round, but Collingwood let me down. They got slaughtered. I did not expect that at all. I thought the GWS Giants were going to struggle in this game with some of the outs that they had. I thought Collingwood were going to be a very good team this year, still have potential to be a good team, but they looked very, very dysfunctional and slow in that first game. I still think they're going to turn it around, but the Giants, well, they put the rest of the competition on notice, didn't they? I thought they were going to slip down a little bit this year. It's only a 1-game sample size, but they look like they're going to be very good. So I think I got it wrong with them in the preseason, having them sliding down a bit. But anyways, that was the opening round. Only 2 games to speak of. Let's get straight into round 1. Alright, starting things off with Richmond vs Carlton on the Thursday night. Usually the season opener, not this time around. And it's probably for the best that this isn't the season opener, because this is going to be a terrible match, in my opinion. I don't really see Richmond getting that close to Carlton. Obviously, the Tigers, they've got a host of outs this season. They've got 3 debutants in this game and a host of other youngsters. You know, they're not going to be winning too many games this year. Maybe they show a bit of fight first up. I don't know. I think this should be an easy win for Carlton. They do have a few outs in this game, but I still think that this is they should get the job done comfortably here. I'm going to go 10 goals to be the final margin, because yeah, it's going to be a long year for Richmond. Friday night, Hawthorn taking on Essendon. This should hopefully be a bit more of an interesting match, although I still think there is a bit of a disparity in the quality between these two teams. I definitely think Hawthorn are the much better team. We saw they were very, very good in the opening round. Honestly, I didn't think the Swans played too bad at all. I just think that at the end of the day, the Hawks, they were the better team. They played better than their opposition. They made a few good tactical moves. Tom Barrass and Josh Battle slotted in nicely. And I think they were extremely impressive in that first game. The Bombers we haven't seen yet. They were supposed to play an opening round, but obviously their game got cycloned. So we are yet to see them in action this season, apart from the preseason games, of course. I think the Hawks should get this one. I think they should get this one done fairly comfortably. I'm going to go Hawks by 4 goals. I still think the Bombers could make this a slightly interesting matchup, but I do definitely think that the Hawks are the much better team. Kicking off the Saturday games, we've got Geelong vs Fremantle. I tipped these teams to go 1 and 2 on the ladder in my preseason predictions, so I think this is going to be a very good game. It's at the Cattery. That is a ground where the Fremantle Dockers haven't played too poorly. They're one of the few teams that actually seem to go all right in recent times. I can remember a few occasions where they've played well and upset them. So I think this is going to be a very solid game. This could be a preview of some of the 2 of the top teams in the competition, in my opinion. I'm going to go with the Cats in this one. I think it will be a very close game though. I'm going to tip them by 4 points. I'm sure the Cats fans will be excited to see what Bailey Smith can do. And the Dockers, the same with Shai Bolton. There's a couple new recruits on show for each team in this one. And I think it'll be a very, very good matchup. It'll go down to the wire, but I'm tipping the Cats just by 4 points. Next up, we've got the grand final rematch between the Swans and the Lions. I don't know if I'm the only one thinking this, but I find it a little bit weird that they're playing the grand final rematch at the SCG. I would have thought it'd make more sense to play it at the winning team's home ground. Is that just me? I think that's a little bit weird. It's not that big of a deal, but I just thought it was a little strange of a decision. Anyways, I don't really see the Swans winning this one. I think the Lions are going to be a very good team this year, even though I was still fairly happy with how we played in that opening round. I thought that we stood up well. Dean Cox said he made a few tactical errors, but honestly, I thought he did pretty well in the coach's box. Tagging Will Day after half-time was a good call, sending James Jordan to him. We also sent Will Hayward to James Sicily in the second half. Hayward did nothing in the first half, so I guess Cox just decided to give him a role to try and get him impacting the game by getting him to tag Sicily, and it worked for a quarter. He was hardly sighted in the third quarter, James Sicily. Then he went forward. We didn't really have any answers to that. James Sicily is a very good swingman, to be fair. So I thought Cox did a good job, honestly, for the most part. Tom McCartan up forward, didn't really show much, but he was pretty good in the preseason game against Gold Coast, so I think we'll have to wait and see whether that one is a worthwhile move, especially while Logan McDonald is out. But we've got Taylor Adams out as well for this game, I believe, and yeah, just some of the outs we have, I think it's going to be tough to take it up to the Lions, and we might have a few mental scars going into this game as well. I don't think it's going to be as big of a demolition job as the grand final was, but I think the Lions are going to get the job done comfortably in this one, and I'll tip them by 35 points. Bulldogs taking on North Melbourne next. This could be a bit of an interesting matchup. The Dogs, they've got quite a lot of injuries. A lot of people are tipping them to fall down the ladder. And North Melbourne, quite a few people are tipping them to rise up a bit. They've been in the bottom two for the last 5 or 6 years, but people are finally having the confidence to have them rise up the ladder. I can certainly see why that would be the case. They've got a few good recruits, Luke Parker and Caleb Daniel. I think they're going to be very good for them. Jack Darling wasn't great in the preseason match, but I still think that he could be just a handy, almost decoy player to Nick Larkey. Nick Larkey needs some help up there, hasn't had a genuine key forward partner for a while, really as long as I can remember, since Ben Brown left that team and Nick Larkey took over as the main man up forward. So you'd hope for the Kangaroos' sake that Darling he's not going to be in prime Jack Darling form. He's obviously not as good as he used to be, but you would hope that he at least makes a consistent effort each week. I'm still going to tip the Dogs to win this one, but I think it could be an interesting matchup. They've got a much better list on paper, even with the injuries that they do have. But I think the Kangaroos can take it up to them in this game. I'm going to tip the Dogs by 18 points though. Collingwood taking on Port Adelaide Saturday night. This is going to be an interesting matchup. It'll be the first time that Dan Houston takes on his old side. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. The Pies, they weren't great in the opening round, were they? I really expected better of them. I think they'll bounce back in this game, though. Whether they win or not, that remains to be seen. But I think they'll play much better this week. They usually bounce back after poor performances like that, the Pies. Port Adelaide, I'm not sold on. They've got Zach Butters out, Todd Marshall out for the season. Not sure what the deal is with Aliir and Asava Radagalier, whether they're going to be playing in this match. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I'm going to tip the Pies to bounce back on their home deck. They usually do after poor performances. So, yeah, I'm going to tip them by, I'll go 23 points. Should be an interesting matchup, though, especially with Dan Houston back from his suspension. Moving on to the Sunday games now. We've got the Adelaide Crows taking on St Kilda. I'm bullish on the Crows this year. I think this is going to be the year they finally bounce up into the top 8. Surely, they have to. They've got good ins. They almost made finals a couple of years ago. St Kilda, on the other hand, I can't see them going anywhere this year, really. I think this is going to be another season where they're in no man's land. They did bring in Jack McRae, but he's not going to single-handedly bring them up the ladder. They lost Josh Battle And that forward line for the Crows, it's looking dangerous. Riley Thilthorpe, the way he finished off last year, with a full preseason under his belt, he is going to be big for the Crows. And Darcy Fogarty, when Thilthorpe did come back in, Fogarty really showed some signs of improvement in the back half of that season. So I think that now that he's got someone taking the pressure off him a bit, Fogarty should play a big role in the Crows' forward line this year. Tex Walker, probably going to be his last season. You would hope for the Crows' sake that he can at least put on maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 goals and at least put in a consistent effort each week. He's not going to be replicating that season he had a couple of years ago where he almost won the Coleman medal, but I still think he has potential to be at least a decent player in his probably final season. They've got a lot of options through the midfield, the Crows, now, with Peatling and coming in, as well as Neil Bullen, who's probably going to play half forward, maybe also tagging. I think that's going to be good for Michael Aney. Michael Aney got a couple of tagging jobs last year, but I think Neil Bullen is definitely the better tagger, so that'll allow Michael Aney to stay back where his best position is. So yeah, I think the Crows should have this one. I think they should get this one, get the job done here comfortably. I'm going to tip them. I'm going to tip them by 7 goals. I think they're comfortably the better team in this one, especially at Adelaide Oval. Melbourne versus the Giants. The Giants looked impressive last week, didn't they? At the MCG, Melbourne, will they bounce back from their horrid year last year? I'm not so sure. There's every chance they do, but there's just, I don't know. I'm not completely sold on that idea that Melbourne are going to bounce back this year. The Giants, well, they showed me enough last week to really convince me that they're going to be a good team this year. So I'm going to go with the safe option and tip the Giants to win this one by 14 points. Very impressive against the Pies last week, and if they back it up this week, then I think it's safe to say that the Giants are going to be contenders this year. And now for the final game of the round, West Coast taking on the Gold Coast Suns. This could be a bit of an interesting matchup. Obviously, the Suns were terrible away from home last year. One of the games they lost away from home was to the Eagles when the Eagles were in a rotten patch of form. So can they turn that around this year? I think they'll win a few more games away from home this year. I can't imagine them going on another run of, I don't know how many away losses it was, but it was pretty ridiculous. I still don't think that they're going to be great away from home, but I think they should beat the Eagles. Yeah, it could be an interesting matchup, but I'm still going to go the Suns by 10 points. I think the Eagles will take it up to them, but the Suns, if they're going to make finals this year, they've got to start winning a few of these games away from home against the bottom team, because, yeah, some of the ways they lost away from home last year, like how they did against the Eagles, against North Melbourne, it's pretty abysmal stuff. So that is going to wrap up round one. Every team will have played by the end of round one. And the ladder, I'm not sure how much you can read into the ladder, considering only a handful of teams would have played multiple games. But we've got GWS up on top of the ladder still, Hawthorn in second. Of course, they're the only teams that I've got winning 2 games by the end of round one. Yeah, very strange the way the AFL structured this start of season fixture. So we're not going to look too much into the ladder, but that's going to be the end of the video. Hope you did enjoy. Comment down some of your predictions for the upcoming round in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.